Hello, everyone. So the topic of my presentation is analyzing language vulnerability from ecological linguistic perspective, a case of Angika and Bajjika. This is how I have planned my talk. I'll be talking about ecolinguistics, studies of ecological linguistics, ecological factors causing language vulnerability in Bihar that include macroecological factors, natural factor, economic factor, then strategies for preserving vulnerable languages with a conclusion. Now, let me talk about what ecolinguistics is about. So it's a novel pattern of linguistic research, and it actually, talks about the communal context in which language is embedded. Now, the larger the ecological context is, including other species and the physical environment, then there are, better chances of, understanding the issues related with it. And it is definitely very widespread. It is gaining a lot of attention among linguists and researchers. And when we talk about Bihar in the context of the Indian context, I have taken Bihar as a major region. So Bihar has been prone to multiple natural disasters that include flood, earthquake, drought, cyclonic storms, and lightning of high severity. And as you see the data on the screen, so 73.63% of the geographical area of North Bihar is considered to be prone to floods. Okay, so these natural factors may wipe out a whole people, leading to the creation of linguistic ecological crisis of their native languages. And of course, other than these factors, these natural factors also, social factors also play a lot of role. And as we see that here, I have spoken about the spread and popularity of internet. Okay, how it has strengthened the spread of Hindi as a common language in that region. So, from the perspectives of ecolinguistics, okay, in this work, I'll be emphasizing on this issue of language vulnerability also. And the languages taken under consideration for the present study include Angika and Bajjika, because both are facing severe vulnerability. And the strategies for preserving these so-labeled vulnerable codes, of course, is something which is a very sensitive issue. And the strategies will also be, I'll also talk about the strategies also. That how we can, we can reduce the vulnerability and add to the revitalization of the language, for example. Though these languages are spoken, but yes, people are few in number, of course. And these are not facing the levels of endangerment, but yes, of course, there's this there's this issue of vulnerability that is there. Now, let me talk about Angika. Now, Angika is spoken in the southeastern Bihar, including Munger, Bhagalpur, and Banka districts, and the Santhal Pargana division of Jharkhand. And the census report states that it is spoken by 15 million people over here. And Morang district of Nepalese Terai also is one of the regions where it is spoken as a minority language. And let's come to then Bajjika. So Bajjika is, of course, another language where I'm focusing my interest. And the regions of Bihar include Samastipur, Sitamarhi, Muzaffarpur, Vaishali, West Champaran, East Champaran, eastern part of Saran district, and Shiohar districts. So it is also spoken in parts of Darbhanga also, adjoining Muzaffarpur and Samastipur districts. And again, the 2001 census data states that there were 20 million Bajjika speakers in Bihar. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, let me just shed light on the studies of ecological linguistics. Okay, so M. Halliday in 1990 gave a keynote address. Okay, and that keynote address was actually a deliberation that actually influenced the language researchers to think about the existing relationship between language and environmental issues in a very different manner. And of course, when we talk about this term ecolinguistics, okay, so many of the scholars, they have put forward the term ecolinguistics as a general term for the study of language and ecological problems also. Okay, and this marks the genesis of ecolinguistics as a young interdisciplinary discipline. Now, let me talk about, since I have focused on the issue of language vulnerability in Bihar. So what are the ecological factors that are actually leading to language vulnerability in Bihar? So we have macroecological factors also, and here we include natural factor of language to interpret the ecology of vulnerable languages in Bihar and the causes of the current linguistic situation. So within macroecological factors, we include natural factors. And as I said previously also, that Bihar is India's most flood prone state, okay, and 76% population in the North Bihar is living under the recurring threat of flood devastation, okay. So that's the sad situation. And on an annual basis, this has been the observation that hundreds of human lives apart from cattle and assets worth millions, are getting destroyed. Now, the regions where Angika and Bajjika are spoken are flood-prone areas, okay? And for example, the area of Vaishali, which is considered severely flood-prone and has faced several instances of flooding situations. So I've also mentioned that the rivers and tributaries, how they carry, high level of discharge and sediment load, okay? And these are deposited on the plains of Bihar. So when we talk about natural factors, now these natural factors also lead to the gradual vanishing of speakers of the language. And a language, how do you know that a language is becoming vulnerable? Because the speakers are getting reduced in number. So as you see the points, the spread and popularity of the internet has strengthened the spread of English also as a common language. And science and technology are constantly progressing, and radio and television have penetrated deeply into all corners of society. Now, the English language is relying on the power of modern technology and media to make its influence. Yes, this is true. Now, today's is the era of modern technology, and English is a cosmopolitan language, and it is having its presence everywhere. So we can see a lot of its influence occupying the regions of Bihar also. Now, we see that in regions of Bihar, along with that, Hindi has occupied the dominant position also, leading to its penetration in the regional languages. And because of this penetration, there's a mix of codes in both Angika and Bajjika, which I have mentioned. So language is not existing in a pure form or in a completely, you can say, in a single unified form. It is showing a kind of hybridity, okay, or a mixture. After this, discussing the natural factors, let's come to the economic factor. Now, the trade job, okay, the trade job is increasing, leading to the lessening of the regional varieties, okay. And as we know that the modern science and technology have been developing rapidly. Transportation conditions have improved significantly. Those have improved, and communication tools have become widespread. So all these things are happening, and language convergence, okay, that has become a trend of the times. Now, that situation of convergence is also visible in the linguistic varieties of Bihar, okay. And as we know that in a multilingual situation where there are chances of, let's say, mixing and switching, so speakers of language also show the sociolinguistic phenomena of code mixing. Now, many people in Bihar have given up their own languages, and they've switched to dominant languages such as Hindi and English in order to improve their economics, to get better development opportunities. Naturally, this is a scenario. So what happens when you sometimes you give up your own language and you're living in a community, you switch to the dominant language of the region, okay? And it can be anything. It can be Hindi, it can be English, it can be any other language also, just to improve your economic positions or factor, just to strengthen the economic factor, so that you get better development opportunities. So this is what the scenario is. So this is a very brief situation I've just mentioned. Now, what are the strategies for preserving vulnerable languages? Now, from the governmental level, okay, since this is a very important issue, crucial issue, there are ways through which language could be saved and preserved. Now, a scheme for the protection and preservation of endangered languages has been initiated by Ministry of Human Resource Development, and the sole objective of the scheme is to document and archive the country's languages that have become endangered or likely to be endangered soon. So this scheme is monitored by Central Institute of Indian Languages located in Mysuru, Karnataka. So this is a very fruitful scheme. And under this scheme, authorities are trying to save languages from becoming extinct or from becoming, let's say, endangered. Okay, so UGC, University Grants Commission, provides financial assistance also for creation of centers for endangered languages, and so that people are people working under various schemes. They work under projects and they try to document the language so that languages can be saved from becoming vulnerable or let's say endangered, okay, for the coming times. Now, what are our duties as citizens? Okay, so we must first of all, I have emphasized on the importance of mother tongue. So that's very important. We all emphasize on learning foreign languages or just to make ourselves improved in other languages. But what about the mother tongues? Other than mother tongue, you're focusing on second language or other tongues, or let's say foreign languages. But then importance of mother tongue, that is something we need to understand, okay, right from the very childhood. Okay, so when a child is there in an environment, he or she should be given exposure to all kinds of language, including the mother tongue. So mother tongue connotes a certain emotion and one must be proud about it. So one should not feel bad about it, but one should, rather speak his or her mother tongue. Okay, one needs to hold on to that. So we must converse in our mother tongues. And this is one way we can, preserve and protect our linguistic identities, our linguistic codes. So, just to wind up, so India is a multilingual nation, and so there is diversity of cultures, languages, okay, and bilingualism as well as multilingualism both prevail, okay, and it is important that when we provide bilingual education, that should try to cultivate students' self-confidence and self-awareness in preserving and transmitting the language and national culture. And it is important that children receive bilingual education, and also people should pass transmit the codes, okay, from one generation to another. Okay, so when there's a loss of language, there's a loss of culture, there's a loss of history, okay, and that's a bad loss to humanity. So it is important that right from the beginning, there should be some children should be they should be made they should be realized the importance of mother tongue. That's very important at the very onset of their primary education. So let's come to the conclusion. So we know that the causes of the endangerment and even extinction of regional languages is multi-layered. And there are various factors, okay, that actually that needs a lot of retrospection. And authorities should work with citizens to preserve these vulnerable languages, okay, and the different governmental departments should formulate policies on vulnerable language protection, okay, that those codes need protection and continuously promote language preservation projects. So there is this urge to save language. There should be some urge, there should be some measures to retain data, work on this area so that languages could be preserved. The citizens should take multiple measures to enhance the self-confidence of native speakers, build a language ecological civilization, and promote the harmonious cohabitation of multiple languages. Naturally, uh, even as citizens, we must give our full cooperation, in the preservation of languages. And we should make ways to protect our regional languages, okay, so that the culture sustains. So it is very important that in order to see that a culture sustains, it is important to preserve the languages. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation. So these are the references, okay, you can have a look. So thank you so much.